Welcome to the Joy Inspired podcast. I'm Nikki Cruise, and I'm thrilled to explore with you what it means to walk in a faith-infused business. This is your space to find powerful tools and insights, to build with resilience, and to create impact through your unique purpose, discovering a joy that only God can provide. Together, let's embrace a business journey anchored in faith and empowered by joy. Let's jump in. Well, hey there, beautiful kingdom impact makers, kingdom builders, and joy inspired entrepreneurs. Welcome back to the Joy Inspired podcast. You know, where faith meets business, and where most of all, joy is not just a bonus, it's a strategy. It's part of what God's put in us and given us to get us through to the final place, to the place where we get to launch and do those things that at times on the journey we never thought we were going to get through to. I'm your host, Nikki Cruise, commonly known as the Joy Junkie. And today I've got a really special treat for you because my new friend here, my guest, isn't just a professional speaker and sales trainer. He's an internationally recognized thought leader, and he's got over 35 years of experience. No, I'm not giving off his age, I'm giving off his wisdom. So, with all of that, I've got to tell you that I've seen it in the conversations I've had with him. This man has a heart for creating authentic relationships, second to none, and relationships that matter, and a testimony that will have you leaning in with both ears wide open. So help me welcome my friend here, Scott Schilling. Scott, I am so honored to have you here today. Thank you.
I'm honored to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Always. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Enjoy and joy. Now, Scott, nobody does sales and communications quite like you. I've seen you doing it. I've seen you in community calls, and you're known for building authentic relationships, but not just authentic relationships, but those relationships that really matter. They're not just transactions. You know, we get so caught up in our business world that we forget it's more than just the deal. So, can you share with us what your business looks like today? Who do you serve and the impact that you are most passionate about making?
Well, thank you, Nikki. Yeah, classically, I'm a sales guy. I started selling a long, long time ago, but I learned not to sell in order to sell. Uh, what it really comes down to, and the reason for authentic relationships is because it's really about trust. Many people have heard it before. You do business with those you know, like, and trust, but in order to start to build trust, they have to first get to know you. And in order to really get to know you, they got to like you. And so you can't possibly get to trust without the first two. And that's where the joy comes in. That's where the authenticity comes in. And the reality is, you really need to create the relationships far ahead of ever needing the relationships, much less any kind of transaction that might happen at any time. So I committed many years ago to get to know as many people as I could, learn as much about people as I could, and then connect the dots. It's not unusual that I'll meet somebody on a Monday and on a Wednesday I'll get a call that says, "Hey, do you know anybody that?" And it's the person I met on Monday, right? So it's really about creating relationships for the sake of creating relationships. Sometimes I've had salespeople say, "Well, but I just don't like people." I say, you got two choices: get in a different business or learn to like people, because it's all about people, and it's all about, creating those authentic relationships that matter. And I am a proud sales professional because selling is actually serving. people make it way too hard. It's only four words: identify problem, provide solution. Far too many people that think the pushy salesperson is somebody who's just trying to push their solution on you. The chances are they are, because they didn't bother to identify whether you needed the solution or not. And so the way you do it with quality and you do it with authenticity and over an extended period of time is to first find out, does somebody have a need, what that need is, and then, quite frankly, fill it with either your solution or, for me, more than likely, it's probably not my solution, but it's one that I know about through one of my friends, which again extends authentic relationships.
I love that so much because, see, guys, ladies, friends, entrepreneurs, that's why I brought Scott here, because he doesn't train sales. He changes the way we think about connecting with people because you can't sell to people you're not connected with. And I really love that because himself modeled relationships over transactions. He sat with people, he listened. And that's part of what Scott's talking about. He loved first. That's very much what you're bringing into the business world here. So you see how what Scott does reflects so much of God, of God's father heart. And we get to learn from that, and we get to do that in our business too. Now, Scott, you didn't get here after all your years of experience just by flipping a coin. You've actually had quite a journey, including a near death experience, I believe in 2014, and that changed everything. Why don't you share with us what happened and how it shaped the way that you now live and lead?
Well, you know, I actually had an experience a couple years earlier on stage when I was sharing a message, and I wasn't sure I was supposed to be there sharing that message, but I was pretty convinced that God put me on that stage. And 22 minutes into a 60-minute talk, all my screens went black on stage. So I couldn't see my presentation. Now, the audience of 10,000 couldn't tell that, or I couldn't allow them to know that. And so I was doing two things simultaneously. I was talking to the audience and I was arguing with God. By the way, not a recommended practice. Do not argue with God on stage. Uh, but anyway, when it all came to an end and I finished the talk and my mic got shut off, here I am in the round and I looked straight up and I just said, God, that's it. I'm done being a hired gun except for three things: sharing messages of hope and inspiration, teaching and training others to do the same, and building your kingdom. Do you hear me? I'm done. And the crowd was cheering. They thought I was excited about the talk. I wasn't. I was in an argument with God. Well, that declaration was one that, as I came to find out from one of my spiritual mentors and spiritual guides, I just raised my hand one time and I said, "Why me?" And she said, "He heard you, he believed you, he'll never let you out of it, so hold on." Now, that was September 29th of 2012. And I thought I was doing the things in alignment with all that, but evidently I wasn't. And, there were and all of a sudden there was a whap. And I had a full-blown cerebellar stroke. And for those who don't understand the cerebellum or don't know about it, it's responsible for speech, memory, fine motor skills, walking, talking, vertigo. By the grace of God, I come away like this. And so I had that near death experience and spent 6 days in intensive care with doctors telling me, we don't understand why you're alive. And I finally said, sorry to disappoint you. I've always been an overachiever. I lived. And they said, being kind of a smart butt. And I said, not really. I'm just kind of tired of you telling me I'm supposed to be dead. And they said, but we don't understand. There's two other stroke patients on the floor. One's not going to make it. Their MRI is nothing near as bad as yours. The other one, pretty well incapacitated. Here you are joking, talking to us. We just don't get it. I said, I got it all figured out. And they said, okay, what is it? I said, it's obvious. It's God's grace, mercy, and favor on my life. I said, well, that's as good an answer as we got. And they discharged me. And so that kind of experience, you know, resting on a cloud and being at total peace and peace I've never felt before and never felt since, quite frankly. You know, you then, or at least I don't know how everybody reacts through that situation, but mine was a lot of seeking and searching. Okay, God, what do you got for me? You know, and the one thing that I realized, and you said it earlier, you know, Jesus never said, be me.
Yeah.
He said, follow me. He was a living example. And I took that to mean be the living example of your beliefs and be somebody and create situations where somebody wants to have the conversation with you or wants to make changes because it feels right, not because they're told they have to or that they're threatened that it's something like that. And so from a I've always been this way as a sales professional, not wanting to sell anybody anything, but wanting everybody to buy a lot from me. Therefore, it's my responsibility to create that reason for them to do that. Well, that's kind of the follow me idea. That's the um, from what I've seen and from what you've shared with me, you have these challenges. Can I share a thought with you? Certainly. Well, it seems as if the product, the good, the service, the offering we have could very well get you to where you truly want to be. How would it work if we started talking about that a little bit and then just sharing from that place and truly helping to get people to where they want to go? I'm blessed that I was friends with Zig Ziglar and I'm still friends with the family. There was a quote in his book, See You at the Top, that forever set my path in life when I was very young. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. You know, it wasn't just a quote, it was a creed, it was a way of living, and it is to this day. My desire is to serve people to the greatest level possible to help them achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. And in doing so, I know if I do that well, I'll be just fine.
Oh, I love that. And that is the second time I've heard that quote today. We were talking about it on the Zig Ziglar prayer call this morning, and they quoted that exact quote. So that's obviously very necessary for a couple of us to hear today because you never succeed on your own, ever. And we were put here ultimately to serve other people. And as you said earlier, sales is in fact service when it's done right. And I just see how you're literally living out Psalm 118, verse 17. I will not die, but live and will proclaim what the Lord has done. Now, you don't walk around there saying, I'm selling you Jesus. Folks, get this, understand this. The way you show up is the Jesus sticker
Mhm.
on your product. You don't have to have a cross or a fish or anything stuck on it. It's the way you show up. And when you treat people with that kind of respect, the kind of thing Scott is talking about here, that is the Jesus sticker. So that is what brings about that joy. And that joy moving in action just shines Jesus even brighter because people will want more of you. They will want what you've got. So I could get on a soapbox here, but I will stay off it for now. You see,
Can I
try
jump on it for a second?
go for it.
It's really funny that you say that. What I just said, as a sales professional, I don't ever want to sell you anything, but I always want you to buy a lot from me. One time I was in front of, I don't know, 300 or 400 people in an audience down in Florida, and I said, that counts in Jesus too. And the audience said, what do you mean? I said, let me prove it to you. Have you heard about Jesus? That's selling. Nobody likes it. Stop it. Or create an environment for them to want what you have. Well, when the pain got so bad and my head felt like it was going to blow off, I cried out, God help. And I heard an audible drop to my knees. And I did. And I prayed. And when I was done, I didn't climb back into bed. I climbed up on a cloud. Total peace. Never felt it before, never felt it since. It was the most amazing feeling in the world. If you ever want to learn about that, please come ask me about it. That's creating an environment to buy. In other words, you don't have to try to yell it at somebody. You simply are the living example, and you treat people with respect, honor, and dignity. And it's amazing what happens.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely love that. And we look at the example of Christ. Look at how he spoke to the woman at the well. That's why I always say he was the perfect example of sales. The ideal model for sales is Jesus at that well when he
Mhm.
spoke to that woman. And you look at the way he did it. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to tell you about Jesus. He asked her about herself. He invited her into that space where she wanted it, just like you said. Well, in all your many, 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 many years of experience, you've developed some amazing tools and like 5 questions, on course, off course, and the idea of lean in. Just tell us a little bit about one or two of those. I know you've developed a lot more than just that, but those are the three that come to mind. And
Sure.
how can our listeners start applying them or the ones you express in their business or even in their faith walk?
Well, it's interesting. The 5 questions is something I developed first for myself and then started sharing it with clients and students. Uh, Part of it came because I was doing a radio interview, and the host said, "What's your greatest failure?" I said, "I haven't had one." And they said, "Nothing's gone wrong." I said, "You didn't ask me that. You said, what's your greatest failure?" I've had lots of stuff go wrong, but the the what I have done is in any situation that hasn't gone as well as I would like it to go, I ask 5 questions. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it next time to make it better? How is this going to serve me the rest of my life? Now, every situation becomes a learning event. So you're either right or learning. There's nothing, I don't even say the other words. It's either positive or less than positive, right? So even with my near-death experience, what's the lesson? When the back of your car hits you in the back of the head and you have a massive headache for 8 days, they call that a clue. You should probably get it checked out. What's the gift? I'm still alive. I made it through even though I should have taken some different action sooner. What I do to create it? Well, I was on the way to a speaking event, balanced a box of books on my knee, flipped open the back of the Lexus, ducked underneath it. It came down, hit me in the head, dissected a vessel in my brain. I probably should have taken a few more minutes. I wasn't in that big a hurry. How would you modify it next time? Take more time and get rid of a car that attacks you. Don't ever keep a car that attacks you. How's this going to serve me the rest of my life? I've told this story over and over again. Uh, I told it for the American Heart and Stroke Association. We did 3 galas and raised almost $750,000 because of those galas. So we were able to take what was a less than positive event and turn it into education and serve more people. Would I prefer it not happen? Not my choice. God's plan and timing is perfect. I don't necessarily understand it most of the time, but it is his plan and his timing, and it is perfect. But through
Mm.
this process, I also found the math equation to total peace. God's plan and timing is perfect, plus all things work together for my good equals total peace. And so, again, that's another one of those lessons that came out of that. You know, as we do these things, as you ask, we're off course far more than we're ever on course in our life. It's not about being off course, it's about being off course less often, less far. I mean, think about it. We leave Dallas, Texas, heading for Honolulu. We have southerly trade winds. The pilot doesn't say, "Hey, folks, didn't course correct. Welcome to Anchorage." It's not the way it works. The entire way, he's weaving his way. He's off course, back on course, back off course, back on course. That's the way life is. We're off course far more than we're ever on course. It's not about being off course. It's about being off course less far, less often, and learning the things that help you. So the 5 questions help to pull you back on course and help you to realize, not stay in those doldrums that could happen if something less than positive happened, right? It allows you to go, oh, while I don't like the way I learned this lesson, at least I learned the lesson. And the reason the gift question is in there is to understand no matter what you've ever been through, there's always an identifiable gift for going through it.
Wow. And folks, do you hear that? Do you hear the difference that comes out of us when we think about things like that? When we start looking at things positively instead of looking for trying to understand the negative. Why did this happen to me? Or, oh dear, what's the lesson I get to learn so I can beat myself up? That's what growth mindset is all about. That's what a kingdom mindset is all about. It's about seeing positive, seeing renewing, seeing faith, seeing hope, seeing purpose in all the things in front of us. And when we don't take that kingdom mindset and have that perspective, which represents the Father's heart, when we don't have that, that's when our joy leaks out. But when you have that, you can anchor into the joy of your salvation, the joy of knowing God. Scott, that is amazing. Just the way you took what most people walk along with, beat themselves up a bit on, and you just flip the script. That's what we get to do. You know why? And this is good. Jesus just dropped this for me because Jesus flipped the script on the cross.
Mhm.
That's where he flipped that script because we don't have to live under that condemnation anymore. That's when he gave us these renewed minds. So let's step into it and let's treat other people as though we already have developed that fully renewed mind and respect them as being people that have done the same. And that's going to bring us straight back to, you know, isn't this amazing that something that seems so often icky for those of us who have been brought up in the icky, slimy sales world, what Scott's talking about just makes it absolutely beautiful. And he's reframed it as a kingdom assignment. And it's not about pushing people, it's about serving them. And we get called back to Proverbs 11:25. Gee, I'm loving my Proverbs today, aren't I? A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. That's what you're talking about. But not just refreshing others, we refresh ourselves in this process. When you ask yourself those 5 questions, you're renewing and refreshing your perspective and your mindset. So, as I said, you've been doing this for a long, long, long time. That's why you have all this huge amount of wisdom. So, you've been doing it for decades, but you're still going strong and you're still showing up with fire. And what I love about your fire is it's not that hot fire that burns 1 minute and then dies out. It's a deep fire. It's almost like that white light fire that just is the center and holds on. So tell us, why is it that you do what you do? And what is the mission that keeps you going?
Boy, I hope I get through this okay. Uh, you know, what keeps me going is that God has put me through for me a lot of things. And many have been top of the mountain type events, things that I would have never thought I would have been able to accomplish, that I have. And other people talk about it, and it's like, yeah, it was cool. It just has never been much more than that for me. But I've been through some really not great things. And I realized that was done for me, not to me. And it was done for a variety of reasons, I truly believe. God has given me a different level of empathy and compassion than he has many people. That's my assignment, obviously, is to be in a place where I can communicate messages to serve many people. It's interesting. Back in the day when we were out on the road doing arenas, what most people didn't know is when we were doing the arenas and we were on stage in these big venues, underneath there was a prayer room at each event, and there was probably 20 or 25 prayer warriors praying over the speakers, praying over the event all day long. And we used to be able to go in and get prayed over before we went on stage. And I swear, as funny as this might seem, is the whole reason for that portion of my career was not to be on stages of 25,000 people. It was to be prayed over in the prayer rooms. And what was so unique about that is we were in Austin, Texas, down at the convention center one day and got prayed over. And as I'm leaving, one of the prayer warriors stood up and said, Scott, God just put a verse on my heart for you. Can I share it with you? Well, certainly. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope in the future. Wow, thank you. Nobody had ever done that for me up until that time. That was really cool. Thanks for sharing that with me. Well, the next month we're in Ontario, California. Totally different prayer team, totally different place. Get prayed over. I'm just about to go on stage and somebody stops me and says, Scott, God just put a verse on my heart for you. Can I share it with you? I said, absolutely. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord's plans to prosper you, not to harm you, give you hope in the future. Freaky. Wow, that's pretty wild, right? Same verse, 2 months in a row, different group. Next month, we're at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. Get prayed over in the prayer room, just about to go on stage. A female pastor stands up and says, Scott, God just put a verse on my heart for you. I said, let me prophesy, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope in the future. She goes, how'd you know? So the fact is, this has been going on. They call it clues, right? You go through these things in your life, and so what keeps me going? What keeps me? I'm probably more enthused today than I've ever been, and it's not like I've been lacking enthusiasm, but it's because God has given me knowledge, education, expertise, experience, wisdom. Those are all cool things. But the younger generations have energy, enthusiasm, excitement, drive, passion. Well, when you get to be my age, you're looking for energy, enthusiasm, drive, excitement, passion. But when you're their age, they're looking for knowledge, education, expertise, experience, and wisdom. See, I think this is how we bring the world together by bringing the generations together, and we use it. And I'm more committed to that than I've ever been to being able to help generations that haven't been taught how to treat people with respect, honor, and dignity, haven't been taught how to hold a conversation appropriately, haven't been taught how to use the foundation of God's teachings as true foundation. Jesus spoke in the Bible 137 times, 122 of them were in the marketplace.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the marketplace is where we're supposed to share the goodness of what we're all here for. There's 8.5 billion people on the planet. My mission statement that I wrote 25 years ago was to create a community of 1 million or more, maximizing them personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially, to create enough influence to cause over $100 million in charitable giving, and to positively impact 1 billion or more lives on the planet. In last December 14th, when I was doing a gratitude video for my 10-year anniversary, I took no credit for it. God gets all the glory. It's His grace, mercy, and favor. But then I asked myself, have I accomplished what God saved me for? Wow. Some of it, but not near enough of it. Well, if I haven't done enough of it and I'm still upright, it's time to do more of it. And so I just stomped on the gas pedal, have been going ever since, and want to continue to go. As my good friend Les Brown says, live full, die empty. Let's go like crazy, and let's serve as many people as we can from here.
Wow, so many nuggets dropped just in that little section, Scott, and so much wisdom there.
Thank you.
And, our mistakes, our not noticing, our sidelines that we all go on. I'm sure even Scott has moments like that nowadays. You don't get to beat yourself up or to lose your joy or to decide you need to do a full, almost 360 pivot just because you missed something. We all have that. And it's that wisdom and discernment and knowledge that we get to use to recognize where we should be. And then we get to borrow that energy, enthusiasm, blah, blah, blah of the younger generation to actually step forward in it. But I so love that we get to make kingdom impact in the marketplace. It's happening in the churches. We can do it in the churches, yes, but as entrepreneurs, our influence under that title is in the marketplace. So when you show up, that's where you get to influence, you get to impact. And I love that. I'm going to be listening to the replay to watch that quote about how many times Jesus spoke in the marketplace, but that's where he was so often. That's where he spoke truth. And you know what else, folks? That's where there are a variety of people that you wouldn't otherwise connect with. In church, you're going to meet the people at church, not a huge variety of people there. And if you don't shine Jesus in your business, in the marketplace, if you don't reflect him there, how can you be that lighthouse in the marketplace? And the lighthouse doesn't stand there so that people can go, oh, look, there's a lighthouse. It stands there to shine a light and illuminate the way for others. And there's a big difference. I don't need people to see me and go, oh, wow, what an amazing follower of Christ. I need people to walk in the light and say, oh, what an amazing Christ. That's the difference. So, right before we wrap up, I have a fun question for you. If
I'll be
you had
I'll
to,
be the judge. I'll be the judge of that.
okay, well, as the sales expert, if you had to sell joy in one sentence, what would your sales pitch be?
Do you want to experience the greatest feelings you've ever had in your life? It's called joy.
You win the prize. That was good. That was good. And how does anybody respond to that? Because unless they really need a whole lot of other healing going on, how could they say no to that? Because Jesus is our jam, and joy is what attracts us to him. So, Scott, where can these people get to know you more and find out more about you? And folks, it is written in the description below as well, so you don't have to remember all of this. But tell us, it's been so good and it's been such a joy, pun intentional, but where can they connect with you and learn more about and from you?
Well, I'm on every social you can find. I don't hide well. My website is scottschilling.com and my email is scott@scottschilling.com. That's my real email. If you've got questions or comments or thoughts or need anything, reach out, scott@scottschilling.com. Would love to serve you. I love talking with folks. That's actually part of the greatest joy of doing this is when people come up afterwards and say, I was in this and now I'm here. You get that flash in their eyes. Something is going to improve their life for the rest of their life. That's joy.
Well, go follow him. Go check him out. You can do it quietly. We won't tell anyone, but I'm sure it won't be long before you're saying, "Hey, Scott, Scott." You know, we will link them in the show notes and the details will be in the description, as I said. But let me leave you with this reminder that serving others brings the most incredible joy. And joy isn't something you wait for. And people say, well, I'm not sure if I've been called to serve. Excuse me. We are made in the image of God, and God serves. He serves us every moment, every day. We were made to serve. That kind of means you were made to sell. Okay, get your head around that, folks. Sales isn't a dirty word. So, joy isn't something that you sit around and wait for, but nor is sales and nor is service. It's something you walk in, it's the way you carry yourself. And just like Scott is walking God's path every day, and he is selling every day. So until next time, keep that in mind. And if this touched a place in your heart, if you've got a friend who you think should hear it, share it, like it, drop your comments below. I would love to hear from you. And until next week, keep impacting the kingdom, keep empowering yourselves as entrepreneurs, and blessings. But most of all, stay in joy. Thanks, folks. Bye.
Bye all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Joy Inspired podcast at www.joyinspiredpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming and you don't want to miss it. So make sure to hit that subscribe. I am so grateful for all the reviews and comments, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.